Welcome to PolyCast, a civilization podcast focused on game strategy.
CanusAlbinus,
Makahlua,
TheMeInTeam,
MegaBearsFan.
Well, good morning, Internet. Welcome to PolyCast episode 419. I am MegaBearsFan, joined as always by CanusAlbinus.
got my hand with a dishwasher. It hurt.
Ooh, that does sound awful. Also, Makahlua.
Who no longer has a frog in her throat because of being sick.
I think you just gave the frog to me. And the
Sorry.
MeInTeam.
I recommend cutting the enemy's hands with the 8 Axeman Wonder. I have not observed any pain in my hands when doing so.
Are there Axemen in Civ 6? I don't think so.
Well, you can adjust to the newer civs if you so please.
We had a fun story before the show started, so we're going to have to repeat it for you.
Well, I was just telling everyone that I've been looking for zero cholesterol snacks because I have high cholesterol. And I found some plant-based cookies at Costco, which are okay, but they definitely have that fake flavor taste to them, if you know what I mean.
Do they also sort of have the healthy food taste, you know?
Yeah, that too. I mean, they're kind of one and the same thing, aren't they?
Pretty much.
Well, there's sometimes where you know they took something simple that's like, say, an oatmeal cookie, but they like reduce the sugar so it's within a certain range or other things, and it tastes like they tried to make it healthy, you know? Cookie is supposed to be a fun thing, kind of, not necessarily supposed to be health food thing.
You know, to be honest, I only looked at the cholesterol. I did not look at the other sugars or other ingredients. So as far as I know, it might be loaded in sugar.
Well, you know how it is. Here's a confectionery delight for you. It's made with no sugar, salt, butter, or eggs. And then you take a bite and you think, not bad. All it needs is sugar, butter, salt, and eggs.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty
The
much.
solution here is to take a metric bar and shape it like a cookie.
Oh,
Totally good enough.
granola bars are so awful.
Well, granola's, yeah. I would
Well-
actually prefer to eat some metric bars to a granola bar.
I mean, aside from being the new DB supervillain, it's just ridiculous.
Ugh.
I
I'm
like
actually not a
granola.
fan of oatmeal cookies. Like I don't hate them, but they're bad enough that I will not eat them because they are unhealthy and I don't get enough value out of the cookie for the unhealth factor to be worth it.
Are you guys among the people who count boring cereals and kid cereals as reasons why or why not to buy them?
What do you mean by boring?
Okay, so
Oh, he means things like, what is it, grape nuts, or just plain, or the plain shredded wheats and stuff like that.
No.
are you somebody
I
who
don't
would
consider factors beyond the nutrition and whether I enjoy eating it. Those are the two things. You can put whatever cartoon character you want on there and it won't change my evaluation of the cereal.
It's like there are some people who think, oh, Honey Nut Cheerios is a cereal for kids. I must eat regular Cheerios.
Oh, they
And-
have to eat boring adult cereals.
Yeah.
That said,
This
if you're going to like eat handfuls of it, you definitely don't want Honey Nut Cheerios because it'll make your hands sticky. So in that case, you would get regular Cheerios, but that would be the reason.
You know, every now and then I would mix my Honey Nut Cheerios with or regular Cheerios or whatever with other cereals like Honey Bunches of Oats. And a while ago, when I was at the grocery store, I saw that who makes Cheerios? It's not Kellogg's. It's General Mills.
One of the two.
Anyway, they had a new flavor of Cheerios, which was basically just Cheerios mixed with Honey Bunches of Oats. I think they probably own both cereals under the same company. So they probably just mixed them together. And I'm like, hey, someone stole my idea.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, they've been doing that for ages with like dried fruit pieces with various cereals and such. So it's not that much of a leap that they would take their own generated stuff and put it together if it will make up for a decent cereal.
They're all the same stuff. It's all grain, and it's all...
Yeah, you have different artificial flavoring and such, and you can mix them.
Well, yeah, there's like, how many different flavors of Cheerios now?
Oh,
They-
there's a ton.
I was at the grocery
fun.
store 2 hours ago. I only saw 2.
Well,
Wow.
the grocery store might only be carrying 2, but there are tons of them.
It was a
There's at least
Walmart.
5, at least.
But wait, Walmart only had 2 flavors or something? I'm shocked.
Yeah, there was well, I guess there were technically 3 because there was Cheerios and then Honey Nut Cheerios and then Walmart brand Cheerios.
There's like Cheerios with berry flavoring. There's chocolate Cheerios. It's
They
all
even
kinds
did
of
for
junk.
Valentine's Day, they did a chocolate Cheerios and strawberry Cheerio combo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe my town is too small. Anyway,
It could be your Walmart is too small. That's unusual because even Target at least carries at least like 5 or 6 varieties of Cheerios at a time.
where I live, Target is like a department store compared to Walmart.
Oh yeah, because I have a super Target as opposed to just plain Target like we used to have. There was a time where Target didn't have groceries, but they don't build many Targets without groceries anymore.
Same with Walmart. Anyway, now that we've thoroughly confused all our non-American viewers, listeners, whatever, should we move on to the topics at hand?
Yes, welcome to a serial podcast. PolyCast.
Frenchcast.
Okay, so at the end of our last episode, which was, according to the calendar, more than, I think it was 6 weeks ago because we missed both 1 week for illness and 1 week for Easter. They were talking about the pre-release information about the England Leader Pass art, the 6th DLC in the Leader Pass. And since then, they have released it, and there have also been 2 patches since then. And they've had a dev live stream as well. The dev live stream for this particular DLC was not particularly interesting, at least parts that I watched, which I guess I watched all of it, but it was mostly like there wasn't a lot of entertaining banter or any kind of like behind the scenes secret stuff going on because they brought their historian on and he talked a lot about the history of those leaders, and personally, I find that a little bit less interesting than hearing what the developers do behind the scenes because I can read all that other stuff in a history book, but there's no history book on the development of Civ 6. So,
well, if they're talking about the history of the leaders and the civilizations, like in the context of this is why we gave them like their abilities or unique units or whatever, where it's like both the history and the design of the game, that would certainly.
Well, they did do that, but I don't remember it being particularly interesting for this particular set because, well, let's go through the leader's abilities and I'll tell you how hard it is to figure out what their abilities are based on. So, for Elizabeth I, we get Drake's Legacy as her ability. England's trade route capacity is increased by 2 upon reaching your first Great Admiral. Trade routes to city-states provide plus 3 gold for every specialty district in the origin city, and plus 100% yields from plundering trade routes. I wonder where all of those things came from. It seems pretty obvious that it's almost entirely based on the Spanish Armada and Francis Drake's destruction of it.
That set mechanically it seems decent.
Yeah, it's like if it would be like if Civ 5 and Mali were added together. Mali? Yeah. Who had 2 trade routes in Mali? Venice.
Honor Venice, the only way to play.
The plundering bit gives almost a Viking feel to this ability.
Except all you get is gold.
Yeah.
And
she's closer to the Vikings than us, so
her agenda is trade agreement. Tries to maximize trade routes, likes civilizations that trade with her, and dislikes civilizations who do not. Once again, I wonder where that came from.
I have to say, I actually do really like this ability theming for England. England's one of those civs where like it feels like they never get their abilities right, and they're always changing them. But I think I really like this one because it's got both a naval military feel, but also a maritime trade feel, and that I think works very well for them.
Yes. Now let's look at Age of Steam Victoria. She is the one with the hat.
Oh, she's gonna like a lot of players.
So yeah, she gets plus 10% for in cities for every industrial zone building in that city, so up to 30%, and then plus,
Was it 30 or 40? You can build 4 buildings in a zone, can't you?
well, you can technically build 5, but 3 of them are 1 slot only. Because you can build a nuclear plant, a coal plant, and an oil plant, but you can only have one of each, or one of them.
Right.
And then she
Unless
also,
unless it's bugged and you can replace one with the other, and it adds it again.
and the
It
other,
would take too long for that to be worth it, probably. Unless this is like multiplicative stacking rather than additive. This is like paradox math going on here.
I
where
don't.
Each one is multiplying by 110% rather than like adding to the modifier. Probably not.
So the other half of her power is +2 production to all strategic wonders
Resources.
and all of this still has Workshop of the World, the Sea Dog unit, and the Royal Navy Dockyard. So she likes production. She likes to build up her industry. She likes civilizations that focus on production.
Yeah,
Now,
which, as I think Phil said, would be pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
I wonder why they gave her those traits.
I mean, she's Age of Steam.
Because her empire was the cradle of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. I mean, it's a better fit than some of the other abilities.
Yeah. Okay, and then we've got
I mean, generally, not in this leader pass specifically.
then we've got Varangian Herald Hardrata, famous for dying in his attempt to take over England during 1066. His ability is What was that?
Phone
Whoops.
thing. What the hell?
That's
I was
okay.
not trying-
My phone
Every-
also went off during this episode, so anyway, Varangian Guard. This one is different based on which DLCs you have enabled. In the base game, you get the 25% discount or 75% discount on levying units and pay 2 less maintenance on all units, which is pretty dang good, I think.
Yeah, but how often do people actually levy units? I know I didn't do it very often, except for like the 1 or 2 civs that had powers associated with it. Like I think, oh gosh, who was it? Hungary, I think, had a really good.
Yes.
I-
Levying city-states is a real good way to get a hold of a lot of units very quickly if you need them to defend something.
Yeah, well, and the big thing that I think stops people from doing it is that it is often cost prohibitive. So with a 75% discount, like, yeah, maybe you do do a lot of levying.
It's also harder to like have those units be promoted the way you want, have them aligned with the great general, the unit composition you want for doing offensive operations and so on.
Well,
It's not like
yeah,
you can't use them in those roles, but you're not getting a 1-to-1 trade in terms of units being what they would be if you built them yourself.
well, also remember that levied units go back to the city-state at some point.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 30 turns or
So,
something like that.
Unless you keep levying it.
Yeah, well, when you levy city-state units, you're not using that to make up the bulk of your army unless you're trying to do like a blitz of a country or a city. Like you are not taking these units and using them to like form the base of your army, at least in appropriate play.
Yeah, maybe if you're trying to do a bit of a rush, you build a few core units and then you use those to pad out the army. Use them as cannon fodder, basically.
Yeah.
It's also really
City
good.
fire fodder.
Yeah, it's also really good to use defensively because one of the
Yeah.
tactics or strategies that you can use with levying units is you keep your military relatively weak compared to a potential rival so that they think you're vulnerable because, the AI weighs your military strength very heavily in their decisions of whether or not to attack you or declare war on you. So you don't build your own military and then levy 1 or 2 city-states right after they declare war on you and then just crush them as they're moving in, especially if the city-state happens to be in like an advantageous position where it's like a buffer between you and that other civ. And that was actually a very powerful trick with particularly Hungary. It would probably be a very good trick with Varangian Herald as well.
Wouldn't
Probably.
the AI factor that the city-states who are aligned to you would be in the war regardless, and therefore consider these units?
Well,
know if they do.
possibly. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's read the code close enough to find out.
You haven't really messed with that.
I don't think they do. I think they literally probably just look at the same number. Like if you look at the leader flags or whatever at the top of the screen. You highlight over them. It shows like your military strength as a number and your economic strength and all that stuff. I think
Well, yeah, but that's your strength. But
No,
the AI would probably factor anybody who would join the war as a consequence of it declaring on you, I would expect,
I don't
unless
think
it was just coded poorly.
I don't think they do. I think they literally just look at that same number and compare it to theirs.
Man, I hope not. I hope the devs made the AI factor everything it's going to fight, because it's the same thing if you have like an alliance. Then, like, yeah, sure, your military strength is still your military strength, but there's a big difference if you're bringing in like 10 city states and 2 other AIs versus if it's just you. And the game is in principle capable of detecting this and absolutely should be able to tell the difference between those 2 scenarios.
I'm fairly
Now, I
confident
don't know if it
that
does though.
I'm fairly confident that the AI is at least aware of allied civs. I don't know if they factor in city states though.
They probably do, because I think on the code level they're very similarly coded.
Well,
Anyway,
this is
we need to get
speculation. You'd have
get
to like test or code dive it to actually know whether you can debate the AI that way. But nevertheless, the ability to control the units yourself will probably be superior to whatever the heck the city state will do if you don't levy it.
and we need to add the rest of Harold's ability to fully discuss what he does. In Rise and Fall and Gathering Storm, instead of getting -2 maintenance for all units, he instead gets the ability. He gets levied units receiving culture, faith, and science from kills equal to 50% of their opponent's combat strength.
Now that's an incentive to use it.
Go to war, win culture victory. What?
Culture, faith,
Or
and
just
science.
like you get research by like stomping on AI troops.
Not just research, you also get faith and culture.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like-
you get science and then you get some other things. Yeah, well, culture's good too because you can get armies and stuff faster. So
Faith is also good because you can just buy every unit with faith.
yeah, I guess if you're running stuff for that.
Faith is easy to get, and you can buy things with it fairly cheaply if you build the right stuff.
Although that easy to get thing makes it a little less attractive than the other 2. But I mean, hey, it's more stuff from something you're going to be doing anyway.
Exactly.
So I won't say no.
In addition,
Yeah, this is really nice because it's not like it's that hard to make sure that you kill a unit with levied stuff.
Well, and that
for the
also,
yields.
gosh, does he have the pillaging bonus as well, or was that old Harold's ability?
I believe that was old Harold's ability, because the
Ah.
civilization ability is the ability to enter ocean tiles with shipbuilding, naval melee units healing in neutral territory, and ignoring additional movement costs from embarking and disembarking.
Yeah, that's a bummer because if this paired with the pillaging ability that original Harold had, like that would be a really awesome wartime economy.
That's
Yeah,
probably why they didn't do that, though.
it would probably be ridiculously overpowered as well. Because not only would you get a lot of yields from taking trade routes, you also get them from taking culture, or from killing units.
Yeah, well, I think the original one was for pillaging. I don't know if it also worked for plundering trade routes, but yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting how these are
you're right.
thematically similar, just different ways of going about doing the same thing. With original Herald, you pillage and get your science and faith and money and culture, and here you do that by killing units.
I guess how good this is depends on how many units you can actually kill too.
Yeah, well, and the AI in Civ 6 has that frustrating problem of, like, if you wipe out their armies early in the game, sometimes they just never build new units to replace them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it might be very useful early in the game, but then once you've stomped all over everyone else's armies, if they're not building anymore, it's not going to help you out much later.
But
Well, I
hopefully,
suppose if you go ahead.
hopefully by that point you've accumulated enough of a snowball effect that it's not going to matter. You can't use it later. You've gotten enough out of it early on to leapfrog you ahead of the AI.
Yeah, and if you've killed that many units, you've probably taken a few cities too. You're probably not in a bad position at that stage.
I'm just imagining how much faith, culture, and science you could get from killing a giant death robot, and the answer is probably a lot, but not enough to make the effort worthwhile.
Yeah, 'cause you still have to use levied troops to do it.
You have to use you have to use levied troops, and it's only 50% of the combat strength, which I think is like still less than 200. So
The combat the melee combat strength of a giant death robot looks like it's 130.
Okay, so you'd be
But
getting
that's not impressive at all.
You get 65 science and everything out of that. At
Six-
that point in the game.
yeah, at that point in the game, techs are worth what, like 8,000 science each?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the scales well in the end game, but in the end game you can just roll over everything with like infantry arty.
Yeah,
I-
it's not meant as an end game thing. It is meant for the early game for you to get a head start.
Yeah. Which makes it pretty good.
Yeah.
Harold's agenda is called Harold's Saga. He really likes Protectorate Wars, admires civilizations that start Protectorate Wars, dislikes civilization attack city-states. So basically, he will never like you because Protectorate Wars, I believe, are broken.
Well, at the very least, they are insanely difficult to meet the criteria for.
I'm pretty sure the only way you can actually like declare a Protectorate War is if the city-state in question is already dead. Is that how it works?
No, that you have to already be their suzerain when the war is declared.
Okay.
So if you become their suzerain after the war is declared, you still cannot declare the Protectorate War. And I'm pretty sure I think the one you're thinking of, Canus, is there's a liberation war Casus Belli as well.
Oh,
and if I
yeah.
remember correctly, I think like Scotland or someone has an ability that like specifically uses that, and it's so frustrating because it's insanely difficult to use.
Because it requires the AI to have civilization. How often
Yeah,
does that
or-
happen?
I think it also applied to city-states, but I could be mistaken.
Well, it's time to go to Well of Souls then. Wait, no. Civ, yeah. Oh, apparently the place where we go for the Civ Week is now the virtual YouTuber week. Not adjust your set while I find Scotland's. Oh, one thing that I can say while I am searching for this information is that alongside this DLC release, there were no changes according to the patch note, but the game number did change, which implies that something did change somewhere. And also, the Mac and OS players now have full access to all the lead again. But it sounds like, based on the experience that we had in Turncast, that they haven't actually updated the cross-platform compatibility. Like, that still is broken, apparently.
So I had written a strategy guide for Robert the Bruce in Scotland back in 2018. So I'm looking that up now. And based on my play experience with that, the requirements for the Liberation War was that the civ you are declaring the Liberation War against must have conquered cities that formerly belonged to a civ whom you currently have a declared friendship or alliance with. And let's see. Those cities must still exist in the game, so they cannot have been razed. And that civ, the conquered civ, must currently be your declared friend or ally. So I don't think that one required that they have been your declared friend or ally when the initial war started, but I think that is the case for the Protectorate.
Okay, and the benefit from that is to get double production for 10 turns?
In the case of Scotland, it was, double production and +2 movement for 10 turns after declaring the War of Liberation, which isn't very long.
Not for the amount of work it takes.
Like, if your units aren't already in a decent position to strike, like, you're probably not getting much advantage from the movement. But anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Harold, not Robert the Bruce. So.
Oh, we're done with Harold. We were talking about the stuff that came after that. Was there anything else that I mentioned about this Flash?
New launcher
Oh.
patch.
And another frustrating thing, real quick, about the War of Liberation is that it also, as far as I recall, did not apply to the emergencies that would pop up. So if an emergency came up asking you to, declare war against this civ that's conquering other civs, including your potential friends and allies, and you accept that emergency, that does not count as a liberation war or a protectorate war. So you wouldn't get those bonuses in that case. So you would have to reject the emergency and then declare your own war using the relevant Casus Belli.
That's ridiculous.
I think in most cases you'd prefer the emergency. Unless you're just not ready to participate in it, I guess.
I mean, I guess it
Almost
depends on whether
certainly.
you want the rewards of the emergency or you want the 10 turns of double production.
Yeah, I guess.
Apparently, Elizabeth's agenda works the same way as Wilhelmina's agenda, down to the code is literally identical.
Is the explanation the same?
I don't know, have to open the game, and I'm not going to do that right now with the stream. And we would get content ID matched, and then we'd get banned from YouTube, and then Also, apparently Elizabeth's trade route ability is bugged, and she gets the bonus to trade routes on all foreign trade routes, and not just city-state. I don't know if anyone would consider that game breaking or not.
I don't know, but sounds like everyone should play as her before Firaxis fixes it.
Well, chances are Firaxis has already fixed it because there was a patch like 4 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Which is a topic I will be discussing shortly.
Well, that's what happens when you don't record an episode for over a month.
Nature and God got in the way. Sorry. Holy Saturday is kind of important, to me at least, though.
Well, what's not in the way if you want to play Civ on Xbox is now in the Game Pass. It's been on the Game Pass for like a month and a half at this point. But it is cloud, console, and PC, so I think that somebody was speculating in the thread that might be why we're getting some of the patches on the bug fixes, because they may also be trying to get some crossplay going. They don't want the other versions to be that way, and Aspire has not been forthcoming, so Firaxis is like, fine, we'll fix it ourselves.
Wow.
Is the crossplay working with Macs at this point? Because I know there's been times where that has worked and not worked. Is it currently working?
We do not think so. In Turncast, we have one player who plays on Mac or on Linux who uses Proton, which is Steam's new play PC games on Linux platform, which actually works really well. And then we have another player who couldn't get Proton to work, who's also on Linux, and he hasn't been able to play with us since the third DLC in this pack?
I think so, yeah.
And he apparently still can't get it to play with Windows computer. So this Game Pass thing, it actually happened back in the middle of March, and we have had a PolyCast since then. However, I forgot to put it on the topic list, even though I knew about it. So yeah, we missed that one, and then we were gone for a while. So sorry about that to everybody who would have learned about it through us. But apparently the Game Pass people have trouble getting mods to work with it.
Well, I kind of expected that the modding not to work as well. Because that's true, I think, even with like other games that have mods, the Xbox version versus the PC version is usually a bit more of a pain with mods.
I generally follow the rule of thumb that if I'm playing it on console, I should not expect to have access to any mods at all.
Although these days, consoles should probably look at that if they want to stay even remotely competitive.
Speaking of being remotely competitive, Epic Game Store users also can't use mods.
Well,
those are two things I wouldn't have expected to be paired: competitive and Epic Game Store.
Well, if you want to, like, Epic Game Store really only exists to give you old games if you don't already own them, and to give your data to the Chinese. But if you already have TikTok, it doesn't matter, so go for it.
I mean, you never know. Hell might freeze over. It might become a good platform somehow.
I think they'd need to add a cart first.
There's a lot of things they need to do. It's not impossible in principle. Like, there's steps you could picture that would turn it into a good store. You just don't think they'll ever happen.
How about, instead of saying, okay, you get a 12% cut instead of a 30% cut, we're going to cut prices by, that extra 18% instead of pocketing it for yourself. Nope.
Put profit first.
Oh, obviously.
Well, it's because the cut doesn't matter when you're not actually selling the games.
Oh, yeah, that's an issue, too.
Well, think about it. They've given Epic Game Store gives away like an old game that's relatively like highbrow or highly, like they usually give away like old AAA games once a month or once a year or something like that, and they give out a new game every week. And I know at least 4 people out of the game groups that I'm members of who have Epic Game Store solely for the free games and never buy anything there. So,
yeah,
if they're not selling the game, the cut doesn't matter. Also, pretty sure they get their money from data laundering, so it doesn't matter. They don't need to sell it. When you're getting it for free, you are the merchandise.
You're the product.
Yes.
Yeah. Just think about that the next time you get something for free.
I mean, that's what we live with today, though, with like so many things.
Yes, but there are levels of egregiousness.
That's
Yeah,
true.
there's levels of products you're going to be. You have to pick and choose carefully.
All right, guys, let's play Rocket League.
No,
Let's go.
banned. Speaking of things that really we don't want to hear about,
Yeah. Hey, do you guys not have phones?
God.
This time from Firaxis, although maybe a bit less serious because it was not out of season. So yeah, I got the next Civ game, so to speak. 2K23, Civilization 2K23 with a mobile game. Good times.
and
Fools.
yeah, and also dance moves similar to Fortnite, possibly accompanied by TikTok integration planned by
And Meyer
Firaxis.
coins. Don't forget the Meyer coins.
Absolutely.
Because
Now,
what we needed was more crypto.
Now, what this tells me is that Firaxis knows good and well that we are all terrified of this. So the chances of it happening are pretty low. This actually reassures me that this will never happen to unless something like top level happens that screws up everything.
Yeah, well, don't say things like never. What this tells us is that Firaxis team or whoever knows that this would be bad and that the customers would not enjoy it and that they don't want to do this. But that says nothing of what happens 10 years from now when
Yeah.
you might have entirely different people and an entirely different company overseeing everything.
It might
And
also
you
be
don't know.
Let's hope we don't go down the path of darkness, but we don't want to say that it can't happen because it can. Right, Blizzard?
Yeah, and you don't know that they may have also done it this way because somebody at a higher corporate level was trying to push this idea. So he said, you know how they test ideas nowadays as an April Fool's joke to see how it's received. So hopefully the response from the community is like, haha, that's funny, but no, hell no.
Yeah, it's
Well-
better than doing what Wizards of the Coast did with Dungeons and Dragons and announced that they're gonna steal everyone's custom campaigns, and
Yes.
then after everyone gets super pissed off and boycotts them, be like, whoa, hold on, guys, we were just considering maybe possibly opening up a committee to investigate the option of maybe doing that.
we should
Like,
be
come
fair.
on.
We should be fair to Wizards of the Coast. It wasn't actually them that did this, it was Hasbro.
Yes.
And Hasbro
Yeah, true.
because Hasbro wanted to make Dungeons and Dragons their primary thing. Like, I don't think Hasbro has much left for it in its library of IPs that are viable as major products. So then they realized that, oh, well, maybe having an open license that lets everybody use all of our stuff for free is hurting our business, when in reality that's the only reason they have any business. Hint, hint.
Yeah, well, this is why they don't have many viable IPs left, isn't it?
Well, Hasbro did used to own Civ briefly,
Hasbro used to be a lot more relevant if you go back far enough.
but yeah,
I also want to say the quote screenshot of Gandhi in this post gives me serious Walter White vibes.
yeah.
That second one, he's not happy.
Yeah.
He's about to come after you. I kind of also wonder if that's Civ 7 art that they've just borrowed that they didn't tell us. Like that's what Gandhi's going to look like in the next game. Be era
It'd be hilarious
appropriate
if they
again.
just took like one of the AI image generations and had it make Gandhi wearing X and then just tossed that up there for April Fools.
Oh.
I think it would be, well, this will never happen because of the politics associated with it, but imagine they announce Gandhi as leader of India and it's not Mahatma Gandhi, it's Indira Gandhi.
Oh dear.
Like, that would cause an outrage, but it would be hilarious.
Heads would explode on the internet is what would happen.
Yeah, there might be some satanic verse level badness going on. Not a fatwa, but whatever the Sikhs use.
I would respect it as a move.
Well, she wasn't a particularly good leader. She was decent, but she also like destroyed important religiously significant locations, which is kind of a problem in a country like India.
As like a general choice, I'd respect the troll. Is what I would respect. But that said, she would not be the worst leader who's appeared in Civ games. So whatever.
Nope.
Not even close.
We've had a few doozies.
Oh yeah.
Remember that time Eleanor Roosevelt was the president?
I was thinking more. I was thinking more along the lines of the most horrible people. But that works too.
Oh, the most horrible people.
Because like in terms of destroying your culture and stuff, like this particular Gandhi would not even be on the radar compared to some of the previous Civ iterations leaders.
I'm just saying, though, when Walter White tells me that his words are backed by nuclear weapons, I'm going to take that a lot more seriously than when Cartoon Gandhi tells me it.
I don't know. It depends on the internal writings of his code. Because in Civ 5, Gandhi will absolutely nuke you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not even a question.
Well, he should.
See, the thing, though, is if it's Walter White, he would have done it already.
He's not going to warn you necessarily.
He's threatening you with it. It's already happened.
Yeah, when he says backed by nuclear weapons, he means that as he's speaking to you, there are nuclear weapons coming your way.
They are launched. They are in the air. Look up.
Yeah, yeah, he's backed by them, literally.
And now for some music.
Yes, so our good old former Civ composer, Christopher Tin, has apparently been inducted into or ranked number 80th in the Classic FM Hall of Fame, which is a public poll for best classical music. And is like, what is this, like a Sirius XM station or something? What is Classic FM?
I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that it includes the theme song of Civ 4 and Civ 6. Let's check the actual website. It doesn't really say what it is. It just gives me that infinitely scrolling website with a bunch of... Wait a minute. Bottom.
That's not infinite scrolling.
It's copyrightglobal.com, which appears to be a UK-based global radio player. Europe's largest radio company. Also the UK's biggest and best-loved radio station.
So then I'm guessing that our listeners, us and our listeners in the United States, probably do not have access to this radio station.
Oh, I can get access to it here, I guess.
I mean, you might need like a VPN or something like that, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Is it like an actual radio station or like a streaming service? Yeah, I have no idea. This website is not very helpful.
I don't think it's their marketing website.
Yeah, it definitely isn't.
It's the website for the company, not for what the company does. This makes great radio, by the way, for a podcast. Just browsing through websites, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay, Classic FM is a British classical music digital radio station.
Well, it wasn't telling me it couldn't play it, but it wanted me to sign in. So, I don't know. Maybe we could.
You can download it on Google Play.
All right. Well, then, yeah, maybe U.S. listeners can indeed check out this radio station and hear some Christopher Tin music.
Or
So
you
I
can just...
wonder
you have to wonder if the regular listeners of that realize that's video game music and if their heads would explode knowing it's video game music.
I don't know. I also wonder if they specifically only have the Civ songs or if they're playing music from entire catalog, because he has like 4 albums now, and obviously they contain many tracks that are not from video, and they're all good. Like I have one of his albums, still have yet to buy any of the other ones, but I have listened to them because I think he puts them on YouTube as well, so you can listen to at least some of these tracks or previews of the tracks on YouTube, and everything I've heard from him is very good. I enjoy all of it.
Yeah, 260 is the song from the drop that contained the sea. Although 265 is Final Fantasy 15, so I'm guessing they're aware of video game contributions.
Well, hey, I mean, he did win a Grammy for one of these songs at one point, so I'm sure if that didn't put video game music on the map, so to speak, I don't know what will.
Video game music has its own category at the Grammys now, so...
Yeah, but it didn't when he won that award.
No,
so
it didn't.
It was
He-
like best original song or something in the genre.
He won it for his first album.
Oh,
And
that's right,
that's
what's the
why
whole album?
that's why he won it in 2000. He actually has 2 Grammys, one for the song and one for the album. And that's why he only won them in 2009, because according to the Grammys, the music didn't exist until then, because reasons.
Right, even though Civ 4 had been out at that point for like 5 years.
Yep. Okay, it's back to me, and that means that we're going to talk about the short and tiny patch that was added to Civ 6. According to the clock, 5 days ago from the recording of this video, a 1.94 megabyte download, which did not change the version number. It's a small update that, according to Firaxis fixes a small issue where background music can stop playing. iOS, Mac, and Xbox on Windows players can expect the update in the near future.
Except if this thread is any indication, it looks like it's not working all that well.
Oh dear.
What amuses me a little bit is that this bug existed in Civ Beyond Earth Rising Tide. And when I went to Firaxicon and played a pre-release version of that game, it had the same bug, which was really annoying because Rising Tide has some of the best music the Civ franchise has ever made, where it's for like background stuff.
Yeah, Rising Tide is, as we've said many times, is sorely underrated.
Beyond Earth in general is sorely underrated. But I can understand why people would be upset with not Alpha Centauri, but
Yeah,
There was a lot of it, yeah.
there
I mean, there were plenty of other reasons to not be happy with Beyond Earth, but that seemed to be the biggest one. And it was a shame because it turned people off of the game who might have otherwise enjoyed it.
still reading this thread and it says,
Well, there's some people who are saying they had to uninstall and reinstall the entire game in order for this
Ugh.
patch to actually get applied. And then
Uh.
people are still saying that it like skips or pauses between songs.
well, hopefully we've still got at least one bug fix patch coming.
Yeah, I would have to imagine there's going to be at least one big patch after all of these new leaders release.
Well,
Hopefully.
they did tell us at the beginning that for the end of the expansion pass or the leader pass, there was going to be a large I don't know if it was going to be a balance pass, but it was supposed to be a patch to fix some of the more outstanding bugs that are more well known. But that might also have been canceled. We don't know for sure. They haven't said anything about it since then, and that was November. So
I really wish that they would have done that at the start of releasing these new packs instead of at the end, because I would be a lot more inclined to play these packs if those bugs were already fixed and I didn't have to like play these packs with a bunch of annoying bugs still in place. Like I don't know if this has been fixed yet, but one of the things that made me stop playing the game was I really liked the monopolies and corporations game mode that was in the New Frontiers pass.
yeah.
And it was bugged such that if you used it, the AI leaders would never improve any of their resources until they unlocked the monopolies. And it just made them complete pushovers economically. And if that bug hasn't been fixed, I'm not going to play that game mode, but I want to play that game mode. So,
Yeah. That is a similar thing that I want fixed. Sorry,
Yeah,
I started that sentence badly. I agree that that is a big problem and should have been resolved.
And if they had fixed that first, I'd be a lot more inclined to go back to Civ 6 and play these new leaders with that game mode and, for it to actually work. Especially since a lot of these leaders like have, economic powers that seem like they would probably work really well with these game modes, and the monopolies one in particular, like that Elizabeth seems like she would be a great fit for playing the monopolies and corporations game mode.
Yeah.
Even a mid-cycle thing, like get the first half the pass out, do the bug fixes, do the second half, somewhere in there. I don't know how complicated that would make it in terms of fixing the code, but you almost feel like somebody higher up the chain said, just push it out, forget your bug fixes. We don't have the budget for that or something like that, because it's not money making directly, at least.
But it would be money making if it gets more people to buy the game. I mean,
Yeah.
if
They don't seem to care.
Encourages returning players to buy the new content, because they can now play a bug-free version of the game.
This is like the thing going on in different sports leagues where they're not so much interested in retaining or bringing back players as much as they are growing it and getting a bunch of new people and new stuff in.
Yeah. Like ideally, we would have gotten a big bug fix at the start of these new packs that fixed a bunch of, if not all of the, known legacy bugs. And then at the end, do another bug fix to fix any of the bugs that were introduced by the new packs. Because if you save all of it for the end, what's probably going to happen is you're going to have a fix for some legacy thing or for one of the new packs that like breaks one or two other things.
Yeah.
And then you're definitely not going to have the budget to go and fix that. So,
Something's going on in management there, the way this got prioritized.
Yeah. Anyway, we've made our complaints about the buggy state of Civ 6 very clear over the months and years that we've played it. And please fix
Let's fix bug things, thanks. And it's not a bug fix, but strangely enough, we've gone around with Civ being so owned by so many different things. At one point, Civ was owned by Atari. Guess what? Civ's owned by or at least other things are owned by Atari again. They've reacquired a catalog of games from Accolade, Infograms, and MicroProse. What year is it again?
it's 2023.
Yeah, but Infogrames and all this and Atari owning again, it's like, I don't know what Atari's gonna do with all this, but
well, I don't know if anyone has followed what's been going on the last couple of years, but there are companies that are releasing like full anthologies of old games. Let me pull up one of them and read off the description, because some of the stuff that they've done is pretty impressive, and Atari is one of the companies that has had this done to that they have done this with.
I really wish that I could just easily find a list of all the games that they acquired, because all the articles that I'm finding, it just has like games including and then like 3 or 4 games. And it's like, I'd really like to see a complete list.
yeah, where's the master list?
Like, did they, for example, get a hold of Alpha Centauri? I don't know if that was ever an Atari property or if it was already.
No,
that was
EA
published by EA. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm talking about. There's a company called Digital Eclipse, and they made something for Atari and called Atari 50, the Anniversary Edition, which is an interactive journey through 50 years of video games with interviews from designers, developers, and industry leaders, documentary footage, product design documents, high-res original artwork, and a curated list of more than 90 playable games from 50 years of development. And this is a $40 thing you can buy on Steam. And if this is the kind of thing that they are going to do with that kind of stuff, then all for it, because right now all that stuff is unavailable on modern PCs unless you go and do the fun and lovely stuff that you have to do for what's it called? Abandonware?
Oh, sailing the high seas, as it were.
Yeah, these companies are all like, oh, don't pirate our games, but we're also not going to make them legally available to you in any way whatsoever.
I'm pretty sure if it's not legally available, it's not piracy, but...
well, tell some of these corporations that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is all the games that people pirate from them are available in other places, like legally. But these ones, you can't buy the hardware to play them anymore. Some of them were arcade games that had big cabinets in arcades 40 years ago.
And specialized hardware that it would be hard to, not impossible, but difficult to import that code into something that work on any of our modern stuff. And they would also question, why are we doing this? Because it's such a small subset of people who would actually want to play it.
Yeah, probably the only way that you could have found these games up till now was probably buying one of those like big, like 101 arcade cabinet things, and a lot of those I think were like not legit. Like I think a lot of them were just people downloaded ROMs onto them and just sold them, secondhand or
almost certainly
market or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I very few of those, if any, were like ever legit, like official releases of those products.
Well, if they are going to take these properties and do more anthologies like they did with the Atari 50th thing, that would actually be great, because there's a lot of problem, especially with the design document side of things, of so many things being lost over the years, because a lot of the early stuff was just on paper. It's people's sketches. So there's a lot of video gaming history that's already gotten lost of time. And then there's the problem of how it was archived and what media it's on. And some of that stuff's already decaying, and we're losing like original builds of old games and things like that. There's a whole digital preservation thing. And I mean, it's for profit, but hey, it's getting done.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. Kudos to Atari for doing this. I wish every game publisher would do stuff like this with their older catalogs, because like you said, a lot of stuff just gets lost. I remember when the Silent Hill HD collection came out and it was awful and people complained, and one of the, like, I don't know if this was ever an official word from Konami or if it was just something that speculated, but one of the supposed reasons for it was so bad was that Konami didn't bother to keep the original source code for either Silent Hill
Yes.
2 or 3. So they had to go back to like beta versions of the PC ports because those which didn't work properly because they were betas, and basically just port those forward onto the new consoles and just didn't have time to redo all the extra development that had originally gone into creating the games because they didn't keep the original source code.
And a lot of it, like especially when it's older companies, as people left the company, some of them took their own personal bits of the design document stuff with it, so they're scattered to the four winds.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
So, reading this document, it sounds like Atari, as we know it today, is not the same Atari that
Oh no.
produced all that stuff all those years ago. And it's not even the same Atari that rebranded itself to Atari back when they bought, or when they were bought by Hasbro. So this is the third or fourth iteration of Atari that is regaining all of the assets / IPs that they originally owned during their chain of stuff before their bankruptcy costs over the time. So, like, if you go back when Civ was owned by MicroProse, there were a lot of other games that Sid Meier made. A lot of them are flight simulators back in the 80s. Pretty simple stuff that got progressively more advanced. Those games have been repurchased by Atari now, and all the games that Infograms had in the 2000s have been purchased. Also, all the games that, ironically enough, Hasbro Interactive made are also included because Infograms bought Hasbro, and Hasbro used to own the Atari brand. So a lot of that old stuff is coming back. And if you take a look at what some of the other things that Atari has been doing, has anybody heard of Night Dive Studios?
Not ringing a bell at the moment.
Okay. Let me quickly pull up a list of what Night Dive Studios has done. Night Dive Studios is a company that that basically rebuild or upgrades previous games that are no longer usable into a more accurate and more complete version of them. For instance, they're famous for releasing the System Shock and System Shock 2 enhanced editions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they also released a version of the 1997, I think it was, Blade Runner game, which is a technical masterpiece and everyone should play it. They have also worked on things like the Rise of the Triad has been redone by these guys, or is being done by them. I guess there isn't a System Shock 2 enhanced is not out yet, but they also redid Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Turok 2. So yeah, they are well acquainted with restoring and protecting old games.
Yeah, see, I feel bad about not recognizing because I have the System Shock Enhanced Edition. Duh, hello, brain, wake up. I should know that.
And the upcoming System Shock remake is also done by Night Dive. Have you guys...
Unfortunately, even if they're getting all of their old licensed games back, I doubt they're going to have the licenses for any like third party or licensed games. So I doubt that if they do any anthologies, I'm going to see my beloved Star Trek Birth of the Federation come back in any of these anthologies. I'd love to be able to play a version of that game that doesn't have a massive memory leak that slows the game to a crawl after 100 turns.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was never a spiritual successor for it either. The closest things were a mod for Stellaris that added it was a total conversion Star Trek mod, and a tabletop board game called Star Trek Ascendancy, which is probably my favorite board game at this point. I just wish it didn't take 5 or 7 hours to play.
The CEO of current Atari says many of these titles are part of Atari history. Fans can look forward to seeing many of these games re-released on physical and digital formats, and in some cases even ported to modern consoles. So I think we have cause to be at least mildly optimistic, if not more optimistic. If somebody had to buy that stuff, I'm glad it's somebody who actually is interested in this kind of thing. So.
Yeah, this isn't just hoarding a bunch of assets and stuff like that and going to sit on it. They're actually doing something with it and making some of the stuff that hasn't been available for a decade or more available and that kind of thing.
Like EA with Atlas Centauri, cough, cough, hint, hint, wink, wink.
Well, they did give it away for a while on Origin.
Origin. Which makes me also think, yeah, EA's sitting here on Ultima too, as well. Yeah, you could do remastered things for that. That's a whole nother thing.
Didn't Origin get shut down? Can we even still play the games that people have
They now have
bought or owned
EA
on Origin?
Play, which I think transferred the stuff. They just don't call it Origin anymore.
Oh, okay.
EA Play is basically their version of, oh, we tried to do our own thing and it didn't turn out so well. So you can buy EA Play on Steam. Actually, it's in a paid subscription service.
I think I had Origin at one point, and I think the only game that I ever had on it was the public beta for the 2013 SimCity game, and it was so bad I didn't bother actually buying the game.
Yeah, I only had it because of Mass Effect 3.
I had it for Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, which were both pretty good games. The problem is that Origin made them difficult to play because, oh hey, there's nobody on your friends list because nobody uses Origin. And now both those games are on Steam, and all of my achievement progress has been migrated over. Thank you, EA. This is why EA is no longer my #1 most evil company in gaming.
Well, hey, they haven't won the Worst Company in America award for at least like 10 years now.
Well, they used to be pretty bad, but they haven't really murdered a franchise for quite a while now. And
or bought up other developers and murdered them.
The most recent thing they did was the stupid Battlefront 2 monetization thing. And
well, they continue to do that with their sports games. So the loot boxes or the Ultimate Team packs in Madden and FIFA are still a big point of controversy for people who despise loot boxes.
Well, that's fine. You can have that in sports games all you want. I don't care about sports games.
But that's like the worst thing they're doing right now.
Yeah, but they're letting Mass Effect 4 exist, and it's probably not going to be bad. So I'm waiting to see. And they also redid Dead Space, and the new Dead Space is actually good.
Especially if you played Callisto Protocol the month before playing the Dead Space remake. That made Dead Space remake look very good in comparison.
Yeah, well, that's really sad, actually, because Callisto Protocol had some other stuff going on. It's sad, that's all I'll say.
Well, and it's especially sad because it's just going to reinforce the idea with these publishers that they need to just keep remaking, the same games and IPs over and over again, and nobody likes new IPs. And it's like, it wasn't that we didn't like Callisto Protocol as an IP, it was just that the game wasn't good.
Well, the problem is there's almost no information about the IP itself. The game is incredibly lacking in outside story elements. They're just like, oh, here's an audio drama, and we'll put famous people there, but not in the game itself. Oh well, let's not talk about that, because we got other stuff to talk about. Oh, are we actually at the end of the news topic, now that we've been recording for almost an hour and 10 minutes?
There it goes.
Seems like it. So what's actually the next topic here? Are we remembering things?
I believe the next topic is something that will last until the next time.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen the topic video, and neither have the rest of us except for MegaBearsFan, and also we don't want to be here till the cows come home.
Alrighty.
So I think that means it's time for one.
Oh, we're gonna start playing with the Discord cues. Anyway, this has been PolyCast 419. I'm Makahlua. Joining me as usual, CanusAlbinus.
Hopefully we'll have our regular sound cues back live someday. Seems like it's possible. We'll have to do
TheMeInTeam.
Do you guys not have consoles?
And MegaBearsFan.
Well, having a toddler, there are Cheerios everywhere.
Are they kids Cheerios or adults Cheerios?
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Not kids Cheerios.
Oh, not only are they
yes.
everywhere, it's sticky everywhere. Oh, fun.
Everywhere.
It's not sticky until it gets hot
Or wet.
or wet.
Toddler holding it in hand, half slobbers over the handful. Yeah.
No, a sweaty toddler hand is
Warm.
enough to get a Cheerio sticky.
Civilization 3, 4, 5, Beyond Earth, and 6 sound clips. Copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright the PolyCast at thepolycast.net.